I took a point like this, stepped up one stair so I could see my grandpa's head. Boom, pulled the trigger back, pulled the bolt back, shot my grandpa twice in the head.
Nothing will prepare you for the shocking interrogation you are about to witness. This chatty and cheerful-looking teenager has just done something terrible to his grandparents, and this video unveils the motives behind this act. In one of the most shocking interviews ever conducted on a teenager, you are about to see what the mind of a twisted teenager looks like. As Mother's Day approaches, the Sweets family of Janet and Richard are expecting some relatives to join them in celebrating the day. However, when these relatives arrive, they can tell almost immediately that something is wrong. One of the windows has been broken, and when they peer in, they are horrified by what they see. The loving duo of Richard and Janet are no more. They have been mowed down in cold in their home. The sad state of this couple soon triggers a search for their grandson Isaiah Sweet, who is not around. Fearing that he might have met a similar fate to his grandparents, they spring into action, trying to find him. Eventually, they find him in a town about 75 miles away. The police bring him in for questioning, and as his handcuffs are taken off, the detective offers him food and drink. Isaiah voraciously eats the food, stating that he had not eaten any decent meal in the last 4 days.
When was the last time you had something to eat?
4 days ago.
Before the detective has the opportunity to read him his rights, Isaiah reads them himself, as though trying to impress the policeman.
Right to remain silent. Anything I say can and will be used against me in a court of law. Right to an attorney if I cannot afford one will be appointed to me.
You've got those things down already,
Yes, sir.
don't you? Okay.
As the interview gets underway, the detective's treatment of Isaiah seems to disarm him, and he tells the detective that he is not willing to lie about anything that they might ask him about what happened.
I'm not going to be lying to you guys about anything you ask me.
And I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay.
Isaiah brags about how difficult it was for the cops to identify him as he adjusted his hair to make it different from the one in the picture the cops had.
Cops, there was like 4 or 5 cops.
In Cambridge?
Yep. Looking for me.
Okay.
And one of them came up to me, started talking to me, asked if I knew where I was. And I was like, no.
So he didn't recognize you
Yeah, I
at
was
all?
like, no, I don't even know where he's at. Like, I had my hair back to here.
For some reason, Isaiah seems to have a wave of remorse over him as he breaks down in tears in the midst of his food. He tells the detective that his grandparents didn't deserve such a terrible end, and that if any deserved such a fate, it was him.
They didn't deserve that.
How come they didn't deserve it?
If anyone in that house deserved it, I did. More than anyone.
He reveals that they took him in at 4 years of age, and this is because his mother was a who couldn't care for him as a.
They raised me since I was 4, and I heard fated was.
As the detective prods Isaiah for more details about what happened on the day of the crime, he tells him about the house and that a door led from the garage to the basement.
I sat at home on house arrest all day.
Okay. Were Grandpa and Grandma home?
And then I went down to the basement. There's a door that goes into the garage from the basement.
On that fateful day, he had gone to get his grandfather's weapon and loaded it with their bullets.
I went up to the garage and then in their room, took the assault rifle out of their room. And then I loaded it with 10 bullets.
Then he went to mow them down in cold without any warning. He took out his grandfather first before his grandmother.
I had earmuffs on and everything. I took a point like this, stepped up one stair so I could see my grandpa's head. Boom, pulled the trigger back, pulled the bolt back, shot my grandpa twice in the head.
Isaiah was really a problem. He had begun to hang out with teenagers who introduced him to the use of drugs. As a result, his grandparents called the cops a number of times to restrain him whenever he got out of line. On a number of occasions, he had threatened to end his grandfather's life and burn down the house with his grandmother. On one occasion, his grandmother called the cops again as he had created a blowtorch using aerosol. The threats to his grandparents grew so much that they wanted him placed in foster care. However, this was not going to be possible, as the only person who could take custody of him was his mother, and his grandparents didn't want this to happen. As a result, they were forced to put up with him. Isaiah, however, starts to tell a different tale of how frustrated he was with life and wanted to put an end to his life every night.
I've tried to myself every single night since it happened.
He believes that something is wrong with him, and the cop assures him that he is perfectly fine.
I just want to know what's wrong with me.
Well, would you agree that there's nothing wrong with you, Isaiah?
He tells him that in all of their interactions with people who knew him, no one had ever referred to him in a demeaning manner.
Oh, we've talked to all your friends, okay? People that used to know you from school, okay? And Isaiah, the story that they're telling us is that you're a pretty smart kid. Would you agree?
Really intelligent.
Yeah.
This may be true, or just a way for the detective to establish that the teenager was in the right frame of mind when he carried out the crime. In the course of the interview, Isaiah further reveals that he nursed the idea of putting an end to his grandparents' lives for a long time, and even thought of using a bat on his grandfather at some point, but had to shelve the idea as it might be too messy.
When I went downstairs, first, I was just going to hit them both in the head with a bat.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be so messy, you know, wouldn't be gunshot from an extremely loud assault rifle.
He also states that he got ammo that was sure to finish up the job, as he didn't want them to go through any pain.
Why'd you stop? Why didn't you
I
use
couldn't
the bat?
bring myself to put them through any sort of pain.
This means that Isaiah had only one intention, and that was to put an end to his guardians' lives. He speaks about the terrible incident like one who is speaking about hunting down game, and not as someone who just took the lives of two human beings.
What shot my grandpa, he just dropped, and I heard blood just pouring out of his head. My grandma looks over and she's like, "What's going on?" Boom. Shot right there, grazed her head, and she was still moving, so I shot her right here through her head.
He says as soon as this terrible act was done, he wished he didn't do it, and even prayed for forgiveness before packing and leaving the house.
Did you pray for forgiveness because you knew what you did was wrong?
Right away, I just did. Right away, I wanted to take it back. I don't know why I did it.
Okay.
He also threw out the weapon he used and met up with an ex-girlfriend of his.
Drove straight to Cedar Rapids, met up with my ex-girlfriend. There, threw the assault rifle out on 13.
The detective asks if there was someone else in the picture of the crime. He wants the whole truth without any hidden details. Isaiah mentions a name, Brandon. This new character had helped to dispose of a second weapon in the house because there was another weapon apart from the one Isaiah used.
I need to know, okay, who was over at the house, who you talked to, and it's not you snitching. You know what that is? It's you telling me the truth.
Are they gonna get arrested and
I have no control over whether or not they're going to
Alright, here, let's put it like this. There was one more gun, and
Okay.
I took that, but I didn't use it.
What gun was that?
Sawn off 12 gauge.
Okay. What'd you do with that?
Sold it.
Okay.
And then I gave the assault rifle to Brandon Allers, gave the TV to Brandon Allers.
So you didn't throw it? You didn't throw away
Nope.
the gun? Okay.
He also tells the cops that Brandon came because he knew what Isaiah had done and wanted to steal a white truck from the house, most likely belonging to Isaiah's grandfather.
How come they transported it out of town?
Okay, they didn't want hot guns.
Did you tell them it was hot?
They knew I'd killed my grandparents. They came in the house right after it happened.
And why would Brandon be going over to your house on Sunday?
He wanted to steal the truck. The white truck.
Okay.
He wanted that white truck.
He also mentions that he got some suggestions from Brandon, but this contradicts some of his earlier statements.
I mean, had you told him that you'd killed your grandparents? Okay, and what did he say?
He was the one who gave me the nicotine poisoning suggestion.
For instance, he stated that he started researching on the internet how to take people's lives.
I thought you said you got that over the internet.
Nope. That was him.
This gap in his history is probably his way of attempting to hide the identity of other culpable persons in the crime. He also tells the cops that he took some items from the house, his toiletries, the TV, and some little cash from his grandfather's wallet before leaving the house. At some point, he had to smash his phone because some of his friends kept calling. Some of them suspected that he had hurt his parents, and so he broke the phone.
Broke my phone in half a couple nights ago because Dalton calls me and he's like, "You killed your grandparents." And I was like, "Nope, never happened," just denied it all.
However, he called his mother and told her that he fled the house but didn't tell her what he had done to her parents.
When was the last time you talked to her? Probably 2-3 hours before I snapped my phone, I called her. Okay. She was pretty much the only person I didn't tell the real story to.
When the detective asks why he ran away from the house, he says he was scared of being rough-handled. He also says that he doesn't want to be tortured. He prefers to be shot.
Why you run from the cops? What were you afraid of?
One of my friends in CR told me that they were going to handle me extremely roughly because I did what I did.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get tased or...
Sure.
I just wanted to get shot.
The detective asks why he wants to meet a cruel fate like that, and he says because it's been a difficult task for him to carry out on himself.
Why do you want to get shot?
So that I wouldn't have to...
Okay. Why didn't you want to yourself?
Because it was too damn hard.
The detective asks why he didn't use his grandfather's weapon on himself, and if he was really interested in ending his life. Isaiah has no answer to this.
Why do you think then it was okay to shoot your grandparents but not yourself?
From his jumbled statements, it is clear that he is only trying to gain some sympathy from the detective and appearing as a penitent sinner. The detective switches the questions to the day he was arrested, and it's revealed that he was on social media confessing to stealing his grandfather's truck and a number of other tweets. He even tweeted that it was time to finally live his life, and also that he had no excuses or apologies. In the moments that follow, shortly after taking his grandparents' lives, Isaiah drives through town with two ladies, and after stopping at a number of parties, they end up at a departmental shop where one of them attempts to pick the locks of the shop. However, this triggers the alarm system and the cops arrive shortly. As they ask the youngsters if they are responsible for the attempted break-in, they deny this, but as the cops continue to ask, they tell them that Isaiah has some illegal drugs with him. This eventually leads to his arrest, and again he begins to tweet some really obscene things. For what it's worth, he is not intimidated or scared. The cops later tell him that he can only be let out when his legal guardians come for him. At this time, however, his grandparents are no more, thanks to him. He lies that they are out on a fishing trip in Minnesota and might not be reachable because of the poor network. Soon, he is released to his therapist, Candace. Here, he eats a large meal and takes a shower. However, Candace finds a strange weapon in the house, and so she is forced to call the authorities without his knowledge. Isaiah denies any knowledge of the weapon when the detective asks if he took it there, and it's not clear who owns it or how it got to Candace's residence.
Did you have a handgun on you at all?
No, sir.
No 40 caliber
You
rounds?
could lie detect me for that. No,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, so 40 caliber round that would have been found up there
Where was it found?
in her house.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
When the detective asks if he is proud of what he did, he shakes his head in his attempt to express sorrow.
When they took you into custody down there when they finally got you, did you say you were proud of what you did?
The cop eventually shows him the assault rifle he used, and he is shocked how they found it.
You know, essentially at the end of the day, you know, and I was going to show you a picture of the gun. Would that be the gun? It's kind of a dark picture.
Yes, it is. How'd you know?
I know lots of things.
It turns out that he had actually spent some time talking with Brandon, who gave some tips on how to use the weapon. Brandon had also broken into the house, but for some reason grew nervous and left without informing the local authorities about what Isaiah was up to. After the attack, the weapon was sold, and Isaiah didn't expect the cops to easily find it. Unfortunately for him, the weapon was handed over to the police as soon as the news broke about what happened to the old people. For his motive, Isaiah suddenly breaks down and says that his grandfather abused him countless times, calling him unprintable names while his grandmother had a terminal illness. He seems to really hate his grandfather and said the man hurt him so much until he snapped.
I hate it.
Why?
He's made my life a living hell.
In another exclusive interview, however, Isaiah says his grandmother was an abuse enabler, as she always supported his grandfather and never took his side. He says he attempted to end his life on one occasion, and she said it would have made things easier for him if he succeeded in his attempt. He says he concluded that no one ever wanted to hear his side of the story or the things that he was going through. He also mentioned that he never saw himself getting to the age of 18, as he had been shot at twice by the age of 17.
There wasn't any, in my head, there wasn't any make it to 18. I've gotten shot twice before I was 17.
From his statements, he saw the world as lonely and completely against him. As the investigations proceeded, more searches carried out on the house revealed internet searches on how to end a person's life. However, something bizarre was found on his grandfather's computer account, and it contained inappropriate images of minors. In the end, no one can know for sure if his father mistreated his minors, as he said before. Brandon took a plea bargain for his role in the crime and got 18 years in prison. Isaiah gets life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. But this is eventually overturned, and he is granted life imprisonment without the possibility of parole and no minimum time to spend in prison. This means there is no way to tell how long or short his prison time will be, as he could be out on parole any time. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to see more stories on true crime, then be sure to subscribe to our channel. This way, you'll be notified every single time we upload new videos. Thank you for watching.